I'm Katy Wells, host of the Minimalist Podcast. I escaped the hamster wheel of modern-day motherhood, overwhelmed by clutter and buried under the mental load. Now I live in a home that feels calm, manageable, and made for real life. I have margin in my days, energy for who matters most, and time for slow mornings and silly dance parties in the kitchen with my family. With over 5 million listens, the show has helped women around the world turn their homes into their happy place. Around here, we simplify for more peace, more presence, and more joy. We choose grace over guilt and progress over perfection. And we believe your home should give back more than it takes. I'm here to help you do the same. Come along with me and my guests as we share the real stories, habits, and strategies that help you lighten the load from the inside out. Pull up a seat, friend, and let's do this together. Ready, set, simplify. Hello, simplifiers. We are welcoming to the show today, Diane Boden. I am super thrilled to have Diane on. Earlier in this year, I was on her show and just excited to bring her on. We had so many connection points and alignment that we were like, basically after that, we're like, let's book our next hangout. And I think it's a natural discussion for us to talk about really self-care and what that looks like. So if you've ever, done the face mask, lit the candle, ordered the journal, queued up the meditation app and thought like, this is supposed to be helping. So why do I feel like I'm still drowning? This episode is going to be for you. I think we'll go somewhere that I don't think enough people are talking about. And that is like, what if this self-care we've been told to do isn't actually fixing anything and fixing the root problem, which we are big here on the show. And I know Diane can relate. What if the answer is really about not only just having less to do, but removing all these other things that have been draining us? So Diane, welcome to the show. Excited to get into it with you.
Yes, I'm so excited to join you. And I hope that some of these answers are helpful. I know self-care is not one size fits all, but hopefully we can spark some encouragement here, people.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm glad you brought that up firsthand because it's layered, it's nuanced. I mean, the reality is I speak to this often, as I know you do too. Like, I feel like even in motherhood, so my kids are 9 and 11. We have kids about the same age. It's like, it's not just like seasons of like baby and toddler. It's like 1,000 micro seasons within those seasons. And there is only so much capacity we have in those seasons. And, this is just to bring what works for you, what you've learned through your journey and, take it with a grain of salt. So I do want to start by like also saying you've been in this space for a really long time too. You have your podcast, you've got 3 kiddos, and you wear a lot of hats. And I feel like from the outside in, when I see people who are accomplishing all these things in life, whether it's on social media or TV or whatever, I think a lot of us tend to think like, oh, wow, she's got everything figured out. So I kind of want to start there. I want to ask, like, has there been a season, and maybe that's now or in the past, where you feel like you're doing all the right things, but still feel burnt out and overwhelmed?
Yes, I would say this might be the season that I'm actually in right now. I think I'm coming out of it, hopefully, fingers crossed. But you're right. I think there's many seasons within the seasons, many as in MINI. But yeah, I think that we believe, specifically speaking to minimalism, it's a tool to help us get rid of what's superfluous in our life. And yet it's not going to make our lives perfect. It's just one way to make things more manageable. But I think we can make the physical, tangible things more manageable, but then it's up to us to say yes and no to the right things that fill our schedules. So when it comes to having 3 children or seemingly having it all, I just think that people have to realistically look at that and know rationally that's just simply untrue. If something looks too shiny or too perfect, you're just not seeing the full story here. And I think we have so many examples of that we can look to in popular culture. But I think for every success that I've had in podcasting, it's like, well, maybe I wasn't as attentive to my children that week, or maybe I dropped the ball with my husband, or my husband and I were going through a really rough season in 2022, 2023. And so oftentimes too, I think for people that like to achieve or they find their self-worth and identity in achievement, I would go to that when I was feeling overwhelmed. Like it's a horrible hamster wheel to be on, for sure.
How would you define self-care in your current season? So I know you mentioned like you're kind of hoping to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and just again, new season, new kind of feeling of overwhelm. Sometimes that's motherhood or just life. What does that look like?
Yeah, well, you heard it here first. I just got my real estate license today. And so I was finally approved. I'm going to be a realtor now. Podcasting is not going fully away, but I think I have been just kind of trying to figure out what I'm doing with all the various hats that I've been wearing. And so the reason I say I think I'm coming out of this tunnel is because I have put so much energy into what is it that I want to do? Like, what is my mission? What is my purpose? I know that we need to be a 2-income home. Where can I have the most impact, I guess? So I think in general, like that's created a lot of stress that I'm fully coming out of. But yeah, I would say in regards to self-care throughout the entire season, everything that I've spoken to, I really rely heavily on my friendships, making time to spend with them, typically at least once a week. My husband has the same opportunities. He goes out with friends as well. Like we kind of give each other that space and time because I'm not just a mom. I'm not just a wife. I'm not just a daughter. I'm not just a podcaster. We wear, again, outside of all the professional roles, we have all these parts to ourselves. And so I think that when we're neglecting even any of the parts that make the whole, that's when we start to, I don't know, we don't feel whole if we're neglecting those things.
Yes.
So I don't know. If
I can relate to friendships. And so maybe describe one of your busiest seasons. Let's say, I think for a lot of us, it's like babies are 2 and under, where it's like maybe we don't have the capacity or space to coordinate with our partners. Hey, I'm going out with my girls for coffee in this season. So like what would supplement that need for connection and friendship for you? Would that be like a text or a quick FaceTime or even like sending a meme? Because I think that's also like what sometimes I get caught up in. Like if it doesn't look like a coffee date, what's the point? You know? And then it's like 5 years later and you're like, oh, I feel like Gollum in the cave and I haven't come out of my house and like been around other humans. That can happen really quickly.
I think you're right. I will say something in tough love. I think that we are choosing not to make it a priority. And I think that we should be. And that's not me being like, it's not like toxic femininity or stepping away from motherhood and not valuing that season. I valued it so much. I'm so grateful that my husband was able to be the provider during that time. So I got that opportunity. But I did really seek out making that a priority. But in other ways, you can also have friends over for coffee at your own house. If you can't make it happen in the night, again, I think we probably have more capability than we do. We just are so attached to these little beings, but it is so good for us if we do that. But yeah, I think having people come over to your house or meeting them at park or meeting them at their house, like the face-to-face connection, it's great to send a text. It's great to Marco Polo. It's great to send a meme, but there's nothing that beats that face-to-face connection. Just our guard is typically we can let it down a lot more and just kind of like settle into whatever rhythm we find with our friends. And it doesn't have to be a lot of friends. If we can find one person that we can really, I guess, relate to, it just is incredibly helpful. And in carrying that person typically through various seasons. I don't know. I just, again, going back to what is the most important self-care, it would be friends. But also I have other thoughts too. So we can keep talking about friends, but I do have other thoughts.
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Well, so this just occurred to me yesterday as I was thinking about, oh, thank God I never have to study for real estate again. I mean, I guess you have continuing education, but I was just thinking, I love to learn, and learning is a part of the self-care that I have for myself or that I offer to myself, whether that's reading a nonfiction book. Like I just really enjoy learning and growing in those ways. And I was talking to someone on my show, and she was saying how we nurture our children. We make sure they have enough to eat, that they have a place to sleep. We send them to school. Like we do all of these things, and then we just forget about ourselves in that way. And again, I'm not suggesting people just can completely make themselves the center of their own worlds, but it's like, why do we forget about those things that are so rich to our experience as humans? We forget just the fact that picking up a book can be self-care.
I love that. And I'm curious too, because you mentioned earlier, like, when life felt out of control, I think you said like you were reaching for like the achievement or something that did make you feel in control. And I think for a lot of us, like busy is our identity, productive is our worth. And I'm curious, like it sounds like you felt that tension personally, but what did it look like, in the seasons that you've gone through, separating your achievements or your career or whatever those other external things are from like what you're getting done. And also the reality too, I feel like so many of us get stuck in the mindset and position, like I'll take care of myself when X, Y, and Z. Like we have to earn rest. And I think that's very cultural here, maybe more to the US and other parts of the world. It certainly seems as someone in the States. Yeah, I'm kind of curious your thoughts and things you found that have maybe helped support you through those thoughts if you've had them too.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think I'm still a work in progress in several areas. I think that when we put things off for the future, for our future selves, we just romanticize a lot of that. And I've been thinking a lot about timing and the timing of things and how we just suggest to ourselves, there may be a better time in the future. The time's not right now, but life is continuing to challenge us and or surprise us. And so it's like, now is not the right time, but when is the right time? Because if your dad's sick right now, and then your husband loses his job in the future, and then your child has something, like it's never going to be the right time. We only have the present. And so I don't know, I've gotten a lot more, I think a lot of this does have to do with spirituality and connectedness to a higher power, but also I just think that time is going to pass anyways. We just have to be really rational and realistic about what our current self is doing, the habits that we find ourselves in, like you said, capacity. And when we are dishonest, we're only just doing ourselves a disservice. Even if you don't like what you see and the patterns you've been exhibiting, it's like, if I just tell myself the truth, then I can be better for it. And again, we're all work in progress. I'm not perfect here, but I'm better than I was a year ago at this time with what I can handle.
And honestly, just what you said just now, it's like what we can all hope for. You know, like it's true. We're all a work in progress. A lot of us don't have these things figured out. And that's why I love just having women like you on the show to just have these open discussions. And you know, what's 1% better even next year could really be make a huge impact on our relationships, on our mental health, and all these different things. How would you define like self-care for you? I know you talked about friendships and learnings, and those are two things you do to feel taken care of. But I guess, do you anchor yourself to a definition? And also the reality, I think you and I often discuss on our shows, is that it's often packaged up and sold to us as a product. And I think that can be a slippery slope. Like I can buy my way to self-care, and I'm not saying by any means it's inherently bad. Like if you love candles, like have some candles. If you love bubble baths, take a bubble bath if that feels good. But I think that can almost feel to me like surface level, or perhaps like maybe you do the thing and it doesn't feel, which is where the nuance comes in. Self-care for me maybe looks different for other people. So I'm curious your take on that too.
Yes, I think that some of the frivolous stuff is nice, and I think we should celebrate those things. I really like skincare. I try and take really good care of my face and my skincare routine. And it's pretty simple. But it's like, I don't mind spending a little bit of money on this because it feels luxurious. And I think that I've earned that, we'll say. But yeah, I think something as simple as I said, friendships, picking up a book that might pique your interest or something from maybe a past life could be worthwhile. I'm out of my rhythm with this, but taking a Sabbath or a day of rest, so to speak. I implemented that last March through really November, 1 day a week, not posting on Instagram, not looking at my photography, or I have a photography side hustle. So not doing any of that, truly just turning it off and saying it's going to be okay. It's still going to be there. Because I think when you work for yourself or you're in this content creation realm, you're like, oh my gosh, like is someone else going to post something better? I got to be in competition with them. And I'm trying to just be totally candid with you, Katy. Like I just want to not censor myself on this podcast. I just would love, it's like you and I are having coffee together. But I think that even in seeing like, oh, Katy and I are in similar realms, like I have to produce as much as she does so I can be at that level. Or like there's other people in this space, and that is just my ego driving me. It's like, no, stay in your lane, reach the people you're meant to reach. You're doing the best that you can, and rest is so important. So I think really making rest, renewal, margin a priority. I've just seen the benefit of, and then the lack thereof when I am not making that a priority in my life. But it's really hard. The not enoughness or wanting to succeed as well as other people, especially again, because you and I were talking about this. It is somewhat oversaturated. There's a lot more people here now than there used to be. And that just can kind of feel intimidating, but it's like, I don't know. It's not a battle worth fighting anymore.
Yeah. I think too, whether it's I mean, anything in life, our version of success, how we look, anything, anytime we tend to compare ourselves to other people, like content creation, anything. I will personally say that I'm trying to think, has anything good ever come of that for me? No. I think honestly, it's similar to what we'll call it just like the product business. And it's not an evil business to sell products for people, but marketing psychology, you create a problem. You create a problem. So you create a problem for women to it's not okay to age. You and I talked about this, I think, on your show briefly. And I feel like, sorry, listeners, it's a really big thread right now. I'm really trying to pick at it and figure it out for myself. But when there's a problem where maybe 5 years ago, because of my age or my looks or whatever, it wasn't a problem. Now I have a problem. I'm getting old and it's visibly noticeable.
Yeah.
That was created by a business. Well, what do you know? It has a solution for me to buy.
Yes.
And again, comparison. And just the more time I spend online and see people with filters, people who probably are honestly AI people, or they're not even people. It's totally freaky. I'm like, this isn't even a human. And I'm comparing myself. It's just in our homes and our businesses. And it's always makes us feel less than. And I think then we are at our most susceptible, our most vulnerable, and more likely to say, not what does my authentic self really need right now? A sip of water to not let this noise in, to anchor myself to this truth. It's like, oh, how can I buy my way into the self-care or taking care of myself or feeling like I don't want to feel this anymore? And again, I don't have all the answers either, but I will say comparison can be a super slippery slope. And by nature, being on social media, whether we like it or not, that's a huge part of it, you know?
I was talking to a friend. She and I live very different lives. We have some commonalities. That's obviously what keeps us connected. But she was talking about insecurity with the PTO, and she's like room mom at her school, and she was talking about her house and how it has to stay a certain way, and she likes to decorate it in such a way for the holidays. And I was like, oh, I don't think about any of that. I'm not overwhelmed by any of that. And so then I was like, what is it that I wrestle with in my group? So then I had to start seeing what it was, because we all have something. We're all going to feel, and the identity through our looks thing and getting older. Yeah, that all sucks. I don't pretend to have that figured out. I'm wrestling with that as well. But yeah, I just think that we're always going to have something with the group that we find ourselves in. And I just I told her, I'm like, I don't want to be around people that prioritize those kind of things. Like, I don't know. I think when you find your people, it's like my people and I were out in the woods yesterday trying to get a little puppy across some water and mud. And it's just like, it took me like 35 years to figure out who those people were. But I think once you find those people, they can kind of drain some of that comes up. Like, we all, again, see it on social media, and it's hard to fight. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to wrestle with my appearance and aging. I feel like I'm going to wrestle with it forever. I don't want to speak that over myself, but it is just so hard when you see things, like you said, AI, it's not even real. But I think, again, rooting yourself in what's true and what's real, and seeing why you love the friends that you love. I don't love my friends that I was with yesterday because of the way that they looked. I love them because of the way they make me feel, and that we relate with one another.
Yeah. And I think that's such a valuable part of connection and having those friendships. And I will say, also being candid, I worked with my husband for many years. 7 days a week, the whole shtick. And because of our lifestyle, I was like, Andrew was my friend. And I lacked any social engagement other than work and like seeing patients and things like this in our clinic at the time. Which certainly didn't tick that box of like social friendship, true friendship engagement. And I felt that lack for many years, but also I didn't put intention into seeking out mom groups or getting to know people in my community to create those friendships until my kids started at their new school. And then I started to just be like, why don't I say hi to this mom in the car line? I see her every day waiting in her car. She's on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. Why can't we just be like, oh, hey, who's your kid? And honestly, that was 5 years ago. I have like 4 or 5 incredible friendships that blossomed from me just feeling vulnerable, because it's never comfortable. It's like putting yourself out there, being like, hey, who's your kid? How long have you been here? Where are you from? I love getting to know people, but I feel like the easier route, especially with technology in the modern day life, is just like isolation. And I will say, like, isolation kind of feels like in some sense the opposite of self-care because we're wired for connection. And again, like as you get to know people, you might find some differences. I particularly love how you were like, well, we align in some ways and not in others, yet we're still friends and that's fine. But being able to find those people who are really in alignment, I think it is like finding gold, and you want to hang on to that for sure.
Yeah. What's funny is we're having this conversation. I interviewed Ashley Gadd of Coffee and Crumbs a couple weeks ago, and her book is on friendships and community. And reading parts of her book and just kind of observing her via social media, because I only know her that way, I'm like, oh, I wish my friendships looked like that. And I was like, wait, Diane, what the heck? Like, you love the experiences you have with your friends. So even in those ways, it's like, it's not enough. And I think that's what it comes down to with so many areas in our life. It's like, I can get the Botox, which I have done in my forehead. It's not recently, but I'm like, I have done the thing, but it's not enough. I got to go get more, or like, I can't afford to do that. I've purchased all the shirt jackets, but I want it in this color too. And it's like, wait, so now my friends aren't enough? It's like, how ungrateful am I? And I think a lot of this is just rooted in a lack of gratitude for the fact that we should be grateful to be alive for one, but also just like, it's a lack of value for what we have access to. So I don't know. I think that's a really big challenge with even like self-care. It's like self-care could be going on a walk down the street and observing the new flowers that are coming up. Like what beauty is around us, and we just forget to notice.
I totally agree. And I agree that kind of pervasive question I continually ask myself, especially with material possessions, as I know you do too. When is enough enough? You know, when is enough enough? Skincare, how young I look, when is enough? Like all these things, friends. I mean, it's like, it's something to stew on, but I think it is important to bring ourselves back to, it might not be a number we get to, but it might be a feeling, it might be a capacity, and it can change and evolve as we get older, and evolve too. Like you said, like we're always learning, we're always optimizing, hopefully with self-care included. I'm curious too. So friendships, faith-based things, ongoing learning. I would say probably all our listeners on our two shows respectively are lifelong learners. I think you and I attract a lot of really great people that way who are just always wanting to be inspired and learn and apply and all these things. But is there anything else that has made a difference? Maybe not you're actively doing it now, but in any season of your life that you would consider as taking care of myself, and it just made you feel better or changed your perspective too. I think we can talk about maybe some stories about motherhood. I know we all have these kind of subconscious cultural stories where we're like, it should look like this, but it's not. So I'm failing. So curious if anything stands out for you there.
Yeah, I think specifically with motherhood, I mean, there's always room for improvement. I yell too much. I have gotten better at that, at holding my temper, of stepping away. I don't know. I love my kids. They have their own problems, but they're also all brilliant in their own little ways. So I don't want to come across as I never judge my parenting, because I absolutely do. But I think it's just not at the top of I think there's just bigger fish to fry in certain ways, but I would just say keeping my mental health as sane as possible. And one thing that I've done to do that, I really stepped away from politics around 2021. 2020 was crazy for everyone. I think I became a bit undone that year, and I was searching for answers, and it was like, sometimes you just don't get them. Like you said, I don't have all the answers. And I think I wanted so badly for there to be justification for things that felt out of my control and that felt out of control for my kids. And I just really lost myself in all that, like needing to stay up to date with the news or whatever news that I thought I was taking in. And then I just kind of released that in early 2021 and have continued to do so. I popped back in maybe a little bit here and there, but it's like, how productive, again, if we're talking about the energy and the capacity for energy that we have every single day, and this does apply to motherhood. It's like, I only have so much I can give. If I'm operating from a position of fear or lack or unknown, it's like, no, I can just control what I can here in the household. And my goal here is to raise these 3 humans into better humans for the world. I can vote, sure, but like, I don't know, like not to get political, it's like you kind of only have two choices at this point in our society. So it's like, yeah, I can give my vote. I don't take for granted that that's a blessing of being an American, but like my impact, my influence is in my home. And so I just think that so many of us, it's so hard to see what's going on in the news, and we have empathy and we want to control those things, but realistically you can't. And if we're going back to what's true, what's rational, what is realistic, it's my children. That's who I have. And I don't even have control over them half the time.
Talk about
there. So
ongoing life lesson. This is true.
Yeah. So I don't know. A lot of the self-care, as though, not to discredit bubble baths, getting the skincare done, going to get your nails done, but it's like so much of it actually has to do with the mental games that I play and having to like come back to mindfulness and self.
Yeah.
And that sounds really woo-woo. I don't mean it to be, well, maybe I kind of do. I kind of do mean it to be a little woo-woo. It is something like that.
I think it's, well, to me, that's not woo-woo, but I also do those things. And I think to a certain extent, whatever you name it, it's like what's happening between our ears. I mean, we all have conversations and beliefs in our head. So part of that is addressing that. And also like what your truth is, not to sound like a Real Housewife, because I do love and watch that show. Here's my truth, honey. But it like, that is how we make our choices, like our core values and how we anchor ourselves. And like you said, that can look a little bit different. You can call it different names, but I think it's different means roughly to the same end, or, I think that's important. And I do think working on the input of the noise into our lives has a massive, I mean, as we record this, I still think Facebook is, in litigation for the damage it's caused and continues to cause, specifically for children. I think that litigation is for, but I mean, I think we can all as millennials be like, yeah, like I can see how this hasn't been the best for my mental health, even as a, woman in my 30s. And I think a lot of that noise comes from, the platforms we spend our time on. And by no means do I suggest go live under a rock and not know what's happening in the world. But we all have choices, and maybe it's a day you take off, like your Sabbath. I absolutely love that. And for you, it wasn't like, because I know Sabbaths are often like, we don't do anything, no chores, no laundry, no grocery shopping, etc. It's hard. When I've tried to do a Sabbath that way, I'm like, okay, so my Saturday then becomes, I got to like stress out and get all these things done so that I can Sabbath Sunday. And I was like, it felt like it was not having the impact it should have, but it doesn't have to be so black and white. Maybe you do a digital Sabbath, maybe you unfollow or mute a couple accounts, right? And I think oftentimes we forget that there's that gray area, and it can change week to week, month to month, depending on what our needs are.
Yeah. I mean, I know in Judaism, what is it? They take Friday into Saturday off for 24 hours. A lot of pastors do it on Mondays. A lot of people in Christianity do it Sundays. Mine was just like, I have to prioritize one day a week. Sometimes it would be a Wednesday. It was just like, I would look over my week and be like, this is a day I'm going to take off. I'm going to make priority that I don't opt in here. And yeah, digital Sabbath is great. Whatever it looks like. I don't mind going to the grocery store on those days. That's not what I'm escaping. That's not what I need rest from. So it's like I need rest from the things. Well,
I think we all need rest from the Trader Joe's parking lot. Come on.
Yeah.
The parking lot is 8,000 more times stressful than the shopping experience.
Yeah, for sure. No, I hear you. So there's a really great book by Wayne Mueller called Sabbath. And I believe he may be a Christian, but it touches on Buddhism. It's an excellent read, but that gives you so many different ideas on what a Sabbath could look like for you too. It's excellent. I need to go back and reread it actually.
Yeah. So many good tips. I love this conversation, and thanks for showing up so candidly and real with me, and, talking on the show about self-care. And like we started with, this isn't about, I think, adding more to our to-do list or saying you should X, Y, and Z to feel A, B, and C. It's just about, objectively identifying what I need in my life right now and what really moves the needle on me taking care of myself. Episode 353, by the way, for the listeners, just 5 weeks ago, before Diane's episode is out, I had a great conversation with Dr. John LaPuma, who's a 2-time New York Times bestselling author. His 3rd book's out, called The Indoor Epidemic. And Diane, I think you would love this book and his take, but because feeling burnt out and overwhelmed came into the picture a lot during our conversation. And he was just describing all the ways we are so physiologically impacted by spending time inside. 93% of the time we spend time inside versus only 7% outside. And our bodies haven't evolved to, meet that reality. And that can lead to the feeling of burnout. And I think when we are feeling burnout or going, I need self-care, it can kind of feel like I'm bad at this, or I failed. How did I let myself get here? I know I certainly have felt that in the past. So you might check that episode out too, or that book of Dr. John's, because it was so interesting how he was sharing that just spending more time, like 17 minutes a day outside, will help recalibrate our nervous system, our mental health, our physiology, our biology. Like our telomeres get longer. It leads to more longevity. And I was like, oh, this is like the true anti-aging right here. It's just being outside. It's not another skincare product. So anyway, that conversation has really continued to sink in with me, related to the simplicity sometimes that self-care can look like, and the non-cost, right? It's free to go outside. It's free to take a walk. It's free to look at the flowers. It's free to listen to the birds, free to open your windows. And I think tapping into more of that ease and simplicity, and it all goes back to how we're wired in the first place, tends to be where I get the best results, so to speak, and what my self-care and how I feel in my body.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've gotten really into watching birds. That's something that just brings me a lot of joy. I'm like, I counted 34 black vultures in my neighbor's yard. And I just sat and watched them for a while. It was just so pulling us back to what's real, what always has been. I don't know. That tie to the past is really cool too, with being in nature and around animals. So yeah, I think that we don't have to overcomplicate it. We overcomplicate everything as a society. And if we can just look to what has been done in certain ways, and like you said, just keep it simple, I think we're better for it.
So 2 questions I ask before we wrap up every guest of mine. Number 1, you'll like these. You'll like these, right up your alley. Number 1 is, if you could declutter one thing from your life forever, what would it be? No effort required, by the way.
I guess unnecessary conflict.
Ooh.
Is that too deep of an answer?
Oh no, I love where people take it. I mean, that sounds very tantalizing. I can see why you picked that one.
Yeah, I think just finding yourself, sometimes you're arguing about something that is redundant or just, again, unnecessary. Like, yeah, I would totally declutter that from my life. I'm not speaking to anyone specific. I'm just saying when I find myself in those situations. So yeah.
I feel like a lot of my conflict is with myself.
Yeah, that's true too. 100%.
The internal. Oh man. Speaking to, there's more work to be done. And then for me, the second question is, what is one thing in your home you would never let go of, and why?
My go-to would be the scrapbooks that I used to make for our family before I had a second baby. I just love those. I would grab them in a fire. I'm going to tell you a few things. I also like some of my little whimsical trinkets that I have, because I'm very intentional about what I have displayed. I have this little crow my friend brought me back from Salem, and I just really love him. So I feel like I grab him, but also my Breville espresso machine. That's probably like something that I love that thing. So I gave you 3.
No, I love this. It's funny to see what stands out the most for people. So I always really appreciate that. And of course, just the utilitarian, but also massive joy that my espresso machine gives me too. Plus like caffeine. I'm like, yeah. And I'm late to the coffee game. I didn't start drinking coffee till my early 30s. Oh. So I told my husband, he drank coffee when we were dating, early marriage. And I didn't start drinking coffee till the kids were like 5 and 6. So I was like, honestly, I did my hardest years without caffeine.
Oh my gosh.
So now I'm making up for lost time. So all that to say, to me, it feels even more special, because I feel like, I just discovered this new discovery to me.
Oh yeah.
I really appreciate my espresso machine. And I think we all have those little trinkets too, or special objects that, have special meaning. And I think that's a really beautiful way to, curate those and display those so that you can maximize and extract more of that joy and meaning from them. I think that's always really special too. So love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love when people have weird things in their home that tell a story or have a story. It's just, those are so fun. I don't think you declutter those things. I love to see those things.
Yeah, I do too. Especially in a day and age where it's like all the interiors look the same and it's like Pottery Barn and all.
Yeah.
I feel like so much of the personality and like what makes us has been removed from the home as like, and we're given this kind of standard. I know myself personally, I've been tempted to be like, should I upgrade my couch? Should I get rid of all my family photos? Should I, should it look like a museum? Should it look like and I'm like, no, like I like my vintage stuff. And just like we pick out clothes to wear that, help us feel a certain way and maybe say something about us. I think our homes can do that too. So I love the weird vintage, like, ooh, and like the personalized stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's really special. And it's, and just on a side note, they're really good conversation starters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The telling of the things that tell a story. I just love that. I love to ask people about that when I go into their homes. Yeah, I just, like I said, I think with you and I, we're pretty realistic about minimalism and what we're getting rid of. And it's like, if you don't love it, why do you have it? But I'm not opposed to decorating in such a way if you love that. And it, again, kind of like Marie Kondo says, like it sparks joy. But yeah.
I love it. Well, Diane, thanks for coming on the show. I'll make sure to, can you also share where my listeners can catch up with you after the show as well?
Yeah. So it's Minimalist Moms.
Also follow your real estate if you post any of that.
If you're in Columbus, I would love to connect with you. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this new
That's great. Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's, Minimalist Moms Podcast. I'm personally at Diane Boden, but Minimalist Moms Podcast, anywhere you get podcasts, not to be confused with someone else out there with a similar name. And I have a book, Minimalist Moms Living and Parenting with Simplicity. And I think that's it.
Awesome. Diane, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And next time, I think when we talk, let's actually have coffee. We'll sip at the same time.
I know. Yes. Let's do it.
I'm making myself a latte. What's your espresso drink of choice that you make with yours?
I just like an Americano.
Good for you. Dairy free. I do that every once in a while when I'm feeling squirrely or bloated. Other than that, lattes.
Have you heard of the Nut Pod? It's like a dairy free alternative.
No.
A friend turned me on to those and it's so good. Sometimes on the weekends, I actually prefer an Americano, but if I am going to have a latte, I really like the taste of this. Or you can make matcha with it as well.
Oh, my husband's a big matcha lover. Yeah, okay, good. Good tips. Thank you. We'll talk to you next time.